So I believe we're live. So hello everyone and welcome to the SRL stream of PS4 the F1 League here at Canada. And as you can see, we started a bit late due to some technical issues. So the first run was already done by the drivers as it continues to rain in qualifying, but all the first runs were made on dry tyres, with CC Brain leading the pack so far with a 117.6 ahead of Chicken and the Angle Killer. And we have 11 drivers only competing this weekend, sadly, but nevertheless should be quite an interesting race, especially if the weather continues like this throughout the rest of the qualifying and the race. And there's also 4 people yet to do a lap, and considering the weather right now, I'm not sure if they'll be able to put a decent lap in, as Freddy seems to be already took a bit of a hit from the weather with only a 122.3. Obviously not easy conditions out there so far, especially to drive on dry tires. But maybe we'll see some action in these last 4 minutes and a half that we have remaining about the qualifying session, as the pit lane is not exactly what we should and want to be watching, as someone is coming out for a run. That's a Force India, and we're gonna try and see who that Force India is. It's RJDW, and he's coming out on Ultra, so it seems like the rain has stopped for the time being. I don't think there's any glitch taking part on this qualifying, so actually the weather might be fine now. So depending on how damp it got, we could see actually an improvement on the lap times. But Eagle is also out on a lap in the Toro Rosso, also on the Ultra Soft tire, which is the obvious choice for now. But it will be interesting to see if the track is good enough for the drive. I mean, it seems fine to me. So it should be quite interesting as we'll go on board with RG Day, as many more people are coming out with 3 minutes to go as we start the lap, coming out of the last chicane very smoothly, and into the first corner we go. Very easy, a bit too much curve on the entry of turn 2, but so far not too bad of a start to the lap. Very aggressive into the chicane of 3 and 4, now through 5 into 6. A bit of a lock-up there after the end of sector 1, but relatively smooth on the exit of 8. Now under the tunnel, a very tricky corner to nail, but so far so good. And actually we're going to try and see if we can have some information on the lap time. Big lock up into the hairpin, so maybe still a bit damp in certain areas of the track, but we'll see where that puts the Force India driver after this lap, as there's 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Into the last chicane, here we go. Very tidy, but on the exit a bit squabbly, but he's gonna end, and it's a 1:12.0, puts him on pole position for now. But we're gonna go on board with CC Brain, the current runner-up on the championship, as he lets someone through. No, he's just warming up the tires, as is Marin. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but the driver in the Sauber. And is anyone on lap? Chicken seems to be on lap. as the Eagle takes pole with a 110.7. Now let's hope that Force India doesn't get in the way of the Red Bull, as it doesn't pull. Nope, it doesn't. Ooh, that was a bit annoying from the Force India. But let's hope it didn't damage Chicken's lap too much as he goes into the back straight, only with the final chicane to deal with on his lap. Will he be able to put it on board? Bit of a lock-up into the chicane, but very smooth, very tidy in the exit, and that's gonna be pole position with a 110.3 so far, as he goes 2/10 up on his lap. So maybe we won't see an improvement, as I believe he runs out of fuel. No, he didn't run out of fuel, but it seemed like it. 15 seconds left on the clock. Is someone putting RG Day? D. Man, you have a tough name to tell. But he seems to be improving on his lap. Although 112.0 is not an amazing lap, considering we have two people on the 110s. CC Brain goes pole with a 110.2. Where is this lap going to put the Force in? Is someone... Where is going Angle Killer put himself in the grid? Third place for now, 110.3. Anyway, RGD, bloody hell. Into the start finish straight. What it's gonna be? It's an improvement by 9/10. 111.1 puts him in the 5th place, 3rd row of the grid, and Striker Gamer goes 4th, and the last man to put in a lap goes into the pit. So starting outside the top 10, free choice of tyres, which can be a good thing. If only I knew the weather for the race, but starting outside the top 10, the only one starting outside the top 10 as well, but that's it for the qualifying session, and it was an interesting one, curiously enough. I thought it was going wetter, as there's a McLaren reversing into the track. But here's your results, with Chicken in the Red Bull taking pole position with a 109.9. In the Toro Rosso, the two championship rivals in the front row of the grid. Then it's Angle Killer in the other Red Bull ahead of Striker Game in the McLaren. Eagle, RGD, Freddy, Enrico, Marin, Apratis and Jacob, the only one not setting a lap time in this qualifying session, starting in 11th. So, having that in mind, let me know what are your predictions for this race, as please don't get that copyrighted. And yeah, I mean, it should be very interesting to see, as the skies seem a bit cloudy, but let's hope it doesn't interfere with the race. Or I mean, I don't know, we could have a 2011 race as well. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. I'm sure some maybe would mind it, but it would definitely make it very interesting indeed, as we wait for a few drivers to ready up to start this Canadian Grand Prix. And it's time to make your predictions just before they start, as we have the 5 lights coming on now and lights out. And it was a very delayed start from everyone. I don't think anyone expected lights to go out so quickly, and the Red Bull is going on the inside of the Toro Rosso. Striker Game that loses a position to Eagle, as CC Brain lost a lot of positions in the start. I don't know what happened. No, he didn't. He's still second, although he's showing up in 6th. As we have 3 okay, that is 3 wide into the chicane. Forcing it, being going a bit late on the brakes, but luckily not hitting anyone, as there's yellow flags. But it doesn't seem like anyone has damage, as Chicken is pulling away in the lead of this race ahead of CC Brain, who's keeping his teammate behind him. he did a move on the Red Bull as Angle Killer is losing a lot of places, and I believe there was some damage, but I'm not sure if it was from the Sauber or from the Ferrari. Well, he has some damage himself, as the Ferrari is looking very and the Red Bull pulls it into the pit, so that's a fight we're not going to see so soon. So that promotes Enrico to 5th place, as the field is pretty close together still, apart from Chicken, who's pulling away from CC Brain, and Enrico, who's losing a bit of a contact with the top 4, and Freddy had some issues apparently at the start of the race, and so did Angle, who's leaving the pits now on the super soft, so surely he's pitting again eventually, as a bit of a skirmish exit of the pits. And here you can see Eagle making the most out of the start, and so did Enrico and Marin, who climbed 3 positions at the start of the race, and Angle surely with the worst luck of all, dropping 8 positions into last place so far. Everyone on the Ultra, so Jacob, who started outside of the top 10, choosing to start on the Ultras nevertheless, so we're probably looking at a one-stop pitting for supers, maybe, if the drivers risk it. And CC Brain trying to work now on getting closer to Chicken ahead, while Enrico is trying. Enrico actually close up to Striker, gave him quite a fair bit now within the RS range when it becomes available at the back straight. So is RGD in the Force India right behind the Sauber of Marin, and Pratt is not too far behind, as well as Jacob, and Freddy keeps losing a few seconds per lap, not in big control there out of the corner, but it's getting tasty up ahead, so we'll keep tabs on this, as there's not much really happening. I mean, Jacob's getting very close to Pratis considering the times, but everyone will be using DRS, so unless the guy who apparently goes into the pits because he has damage in the front wing, he lost an end plate along the way, so that's most likely the reason of this very early stop on the end of lap 3. He's going into the super wait, no, he went into the old. He has left the set. Well, that is unfortunate for the Renault driver who leaves the pits on the ultra softs. Anyway, coming into the top 2, and CC Brains roll over the back of the Red Bull, and this could be very tasty going into the back straight. Obviously the last chicane, the braking for the last chicane isn't the most healthy place to overtake, as it's very narrow into the corner, but we could see a move into turn 1 perhaps, as the field is starting to spread out just a little bit, as obviously the ZTR is not very fun to feel in any of the tracks on this game especially, but very close. But I wouldn't say it's close enough, as Marin gets a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings for corner cutting, so that's not ideal for him, but the leader keeps himself on the top spot of the podium for now, but CC Brain clearly making his intentions clear, as he's all over the back of the Red Bull, and thank God there's no team orders between junior team and the big team, as not many changes, although Jacob's very close with his teammate, so maybe team orders to let him through. Doesn't seem like it, as he backs off the move against RGD, but that's not a very good exit, so we could see around the outside into the hairpin in the braking zone. Can he make the move? Brakes a bit earlier, but RGD keeps the position so far, but into the back straight. Could Jacob get the better exit and try and move into the chicane? However, no. Yeah, he backs off the move into the chicane. Safer option, I would say, especially being teammates. Contact is the last thing you want at this point of the race, especially so early on in lap 6 now, as Fretzy overtakes Marin because he pits, and he's changing the front wing as well, so there's a lot of damage. Excuse me as I hydrate a bit myself and my throat, and Prix still hasn't returned to the session, which is a shame. So we have officially 10 people running, and Marin pitted for ultras again, so Angle being the only one who pitted because of damage and came out on a different set of tires, a different compound even of tires into the second stint, which sadly was a bit forced by damage. But into the back straight we go again with Jacob, as CC Brain still hasn't managed to get the lead from Chicken. However, this four-senior battle is very, very tasty. So let's see what comes out of it. As oh, that's a very bad exit from the chicane from RGD, and into 6th place goes Jacob after a bit of a lock-up into turn 1, but that's move done after a very unstable exit. Very well done for not putting it in the wall, because that looked very out of shape. But Jacob into 6th place now, and up ahead of him is Enrico in the Ferrari, 5 seconds up the road, as Striker Gamer is getting closer to the Toro Rosso of Eagle, so that could be another battle that we could potentially watch, as CC Brain's very close to the back of Chicken. Can we see a move this lap at the end of lap 7 into the start of lap 8? But he doesn't seem to have the speed over the Red Bull driver to try and move, so he really needs to nail the exit, which he did, and into turn 1 we go. This could be very interesting into turn 1. Is he going to be brave and into the brakes? CC Brain makes the move, as Chicken tried to hold it around the outside of turn 1, but it was pretty much impossible to sustain CC Brain behind him. And we have a new leader. However, that was a very out of shape exit, and into the inside of turn 6, and Chicken tries to take the position back, but Chicken is struggling, and now around the outside, and the tunnel they go, but CC Brain has the advantage. However, he goes a bit wide into the second part of the corner, but he retains the lead, but not for much, because Chicken is not wanting to give up that place so easily. So very fun fight. These guys are going at it with everything they have. However, let's see if Chicken has the overspeed that the Toro Rosso didn't seem to have on him a few laps ago, but it doesn't seem close enough into moving to turn 1, as CC Brain doesn't really go for a defensive strategy into turn 1, so the lead remains with the German into the start of lap 9. And Eagle also pitted for Super Soft. I wonder if he had damage as well, but he comes out of Fretty, which I'm not sure if he pitted. No, he didn't. He did not pit the Haas driver. So we have 4 people who already pitted, but it's time to go back into the leaders as they approach the hairpin, and once again the back straight, which honestly will probably be the main overtaking point if we're going to see any overtakes. That into the chicane and obviously into turn 1. But important to see that two people on the super soft, and it's important to see what they can do with the undercut, although probably not an intentional one, as they approach to probably lap a Prati's Ghost, who's still running. Sadly he hasn't managed to join yet, and it's quite unfortunate to only have 10 drivers racing at the moment, as Angle managed to pull off a move on Fretty on the newer tyre. We sadly didn't see that, as we're keeping up with the leaders, and at the back it's pretty spread out now between the field, except for the leaders, which is sad, but I guess it could be expected at some point in the race. We can't really have fights all the way through the race, but still a very tasty fight in the lead of the Grand Prix, and that's another big lockup for CC Brain into the hairpin, but didn't seem to compromise too much his exit into the long back straight. Still using DRS, but not close enough to try and move into the chicane, and CC Brain going defensive a little bit into... Oh, we have a retirement. Oh, he crashed into the World Champions. That's an absolute disaster for the McLaren, who was running third and quite comfortably at that point as well. But that is very disappointing for the McLaren driver to throw away a podium like that. Very unfortunate. That's Sauber. He's going for a move, perhaps with yellow flags. He can, obviously. I don't know if he got damaged though. Into turn 1 they go, and he makes a move stick as the Haas driver loses a bit of control there. This doesn't seem to have any damage, and so does Marin in the Sauber. But that was a very aggressive move into turn 1. Fair play. Not much contact, although a bit of out of shape from the Haas driver into turn 2. But sadly that's a DNF for Striker Gamer on the McLaren. But honestly, it was to be expected, perhaps, some kind of collision at the World Champions, as CC Brain has now a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, and this could be quite the game changer, because if Chicken keeps his nose clean, all he has to do for the remainder of the race is just keep himself within those 3 seconds, and that's an easy win for the Red Bull. Now the question is, will he choose to just stay back instead of going for it, and can he keep himself within those 3 seconds until the end of the race? So far it seems like it, but it's a long race, and as we just saw with the McLaren, there's a lot of things that can happen, and it will be very interesting to see if this crash from Striker Gamer could change anyone's feelings towards the race and make them more nervous to make mistakes, as Fretty pits for the super soft tyre, as he seemed to be struggling a bit on those old ultras, as he comes out ahead of a Practice in 9th place. Nevertheless, Eagle is quite close to the Force India of RGD, which could be a tasty fight to watch as well, as Jacob is getting closer and closer to Enrico Flam as well. And that's another corner cutting warning penalty for CC Brain, and he's just not helping himself at this point of the race by getting those many seconds of penalties, as if he's not careful, Enrico is only 12 seconds behind, and at this rate it could be a worrying prospect for the Toro Rosso driver, as Marin has a 5-second stop-go penalty for corner cutting, as there's a bit of contact, but Eagle makes a move, and behind him Angle takes some momentum and makes himself go up to 6th place as well, as the super soft duo is moving up the field on those fresher tires compared to the old ultras that the rest of the field is running. And could we see Angle perhaps trying a move on the Toro Rosso, as the other Toro Rosso and Red Bull are coming into turn 1 now, about to lap Fretty on the super softs. But honestly, Chicken must feel comfortable right now, as Enrico pits for, I'm gonna say, super softs to take until the end, pitting on lap, no, he pits for softs actually, so that's a different strategy, as RGD behind him also pits for what I'm guessing super softs. So Enrico going for a conservative strategy, as Marin pits as well in the Sauber. What tires is going on? Is changing the front wing? No, it's serving the stop go penalty for corner cutting, obviously, and he's changing the front wing as there's yellow flags in sector 1. What? RGD just retired. For what? I didn't see. Well, he's saying in the comment section it was a brake glitch, which is unfortunate for him. That's a very weird, as CC Brain and Chicken both pit, and Chicken is going for the super softs. What tires is CC Brain going for? Super softs, as well as Jacob in 3rd place in the Force India also pits, likely to go on the supers again. I mean, not again, but likely to go into... Okay, those are way too many tires in the pits, but he goes for the softs actually. So he's going for a conservative strategy as well, and so did the Sauber Marin. So we have 3 drivers on the softs, and the rest decided to pit for the supers, as Jacob goes a bit further beyond the track than he would have liked at the exit of the pits, and loses a bit of time to Enrico, who went on the undercut on the soft tire, as Angle continues to be very close to Eagle in the Toro Rosso. And this is just a fight between the 2 Toro Rosso and the 2 Red Bulls separately, honestly, at this point in time. But it's important to remind you that Eagle and Angle pitted very early on in the race, about lap 4 I think, for both of them, so they'll be pitting again surely, as I don't think they'll be able to take those tires until the end of the race. However, Angle is very close to the back of Eagle. Could he try and move into turn 1? Perhaps he tries to go... He has a sneak peek at the inside of turn 1, but decides against it and remains behind Eagle in the Toro Rosso for the time being, as Chicken decides to do the same to CC Brain, which is the logical call, I would say, because you could always fight him on track, it's fine, but you gotta remind yourself that CC Brain has 6 seconds worth of penalties to be added at the end of the race. Not sure if any of those is going to be removed, but most likely not if they're proven to be to fight penalties, which if it stayed like this, CC Brain would drop into 4th place and out of a podium place, which, considering a second is in the standing, is not exactly the ideal situation for you. However, once again, Eagle and Angle have to pit, so Enrico seems to be a bit too far behind, as Chicken does the fastest lap of 1:12.4 in the super soft tire, and he's just keeping himself behind, as Marin gets yet another penalty for multiple warnings, although this was, I guess, a bit to be expected, because Canada is one of those tracks like Monza that is very easy to corner cut. It's not intentionally, but and a bit like Silverstone as well. So sadly we are seeing quite a few penalties, but again, it's the pressure of racing hard all the time, people are bound to make mistakes every now and again, and sadly that's costing some more than others, as it's the case of the leader of this racing, the Toro Rosso CC Brain. And Angle is getting closer and closer, but it doesn't seem to be close enough again to try a move. But we'll see, a good exit could be the key to unlocking that third place from Eagle, and it was a good exit. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, as he doesn't seem to have the overspeed over the Toro Rosso driver, and it's another lap behind Eagle for Angle at the moment. Meanwhile, on soft land, Enrico leads the yellow tired. Oh, that is a mistake, and that is a costly mistake from Enrico, and Jacob is probably going to be very hopeful after that mistake that more will follow, and he could take 5th place from the Ferrari driver. That is going to be interesting to see if Jacob can make the most out of that mistake, as he's pretty much within the RS range now, and he will be able to use it on the back straight. But meanwhile, before we get into that, that's as close as Angle got into the braking hairpin for a while now, but the exit wasn't favourable for the Red Bull driver, and sadly that might be another lap behind him as double lockup for the two leaders as they go into the pits, both of them, Eagle and Angle. Let's see if we could have a team being faster than the other, as Angle goes for the Ultra Softs, Eagle goes into the Supers as he's changing the front wing, and that's going to give Angle the position. Surely, oh, it doesn't! So close, but Eagle keeps the position. He's coming out on the Supers, however, and that could pay. That could be bad for Eagle, because the Ultras obviously have more performance to unlock, and there's only 15 laps remaining, so he should be able to take them home quite easily, you think. But in the meantime, Jacob's still behind Enrico, but not by much, as CC Brain got a penalty, another one in the meantime, as he goes for the fastest lap. Well, we know that lap is not quite valid, is it, though, CC Brain? But he retains lead for the time being ahead of Chicken, who has all the reasons to just stay back and enjoy the view, as he is yet to pick a penalty, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember seeing on the notifications down there of any penalties for the German in the Red Bull. So I would say it's an easy life if he keeps it out of the walls and out of the back of that Toro Rosso. Meanwhile, Jacob's still following the Ferrari as he goes a bit deep into turn 6, but not too much harm done on those soft tyres, as Angle is getting closer to Eagle, and that could mean potentially a move into the chicane or into turn 1 due to those better tyres, as he just got a penalty for corner cutting. I literally caught that. What are you doing? But into the hairpin they go, and could we see a better exit thanks to those quicker Ultra Softs? He's definitely quicker, he's definitely closer than what he had been in the previous stint, so that could mean a move on 1 if the game could work properly. Thank you very much. And not exactly the best exit ever, as he does the fastest lap of 1:12.2. And alright, could you please? Thank you. But So far, no moves done in the lap as Chicken is close and getting closer and closer. That is very close into the chicane. But will he get a better exit? Doesn't seem like a good enough exit. So it's another lap following the German in the Toro Rosso, I'm afraid, unless he can pull off a move before the back straight into the hairpin. Perhaps would be his best shot, unless CC Brain makes a mistake. But it doesn't seem like it, or doesn't seem very typical of him. So we remain in the same grid orders as they're trying to. Well, Jacob is. It's a bit annoying to having to keep passing a ghost car going very slowly, as it can be very distracting. And Angle got past Eagle. Why didn't I get that on camera, for Christ's sake? That is unfortunate, but that frees Angle to go after Jacob on the soft tyre, and considering the tyre compound difference, you should expect that to happen quite soon, as CC Brain gets another penalty, and he's just not helping himself at this point in time. Although it's quite a big gap to Enrico, 30 seconds between the Ferrari driver and the Toro Rosso leading this Grand Prix, so it should be fine for second place. However, it's still not very pleasant to look at in the end, looking at the race results. And we have a yellow flag, and that's a spin for Fretti on the super softs, and that is quite unfortunate for the Haas driver, who's having quite a tough race at the back end of the field in P8, as goes pits for super softs. Well done, Renault. Great strategy call. Meanwhile, at the front, Chicken remains behind. CC Brain is really tempted to go for a move here, but he's very, very close to the rear of the car. And could he potentially try a move into turn 1? He's close enough, he's going for it, but he backs off out of it in the last second. But that was as close as he got to him. And on the other Red Bull, it should be quite a straightforward move here for Angle before even we got into the chicane, and that's 4th place for the other Red Bull driver, as Jacob doesn't make it too hard for him as well, as he's potentially looking to a free trouble end of the race to secure some good points, as he comes out of the corner a bit out of shape but keeps it on the track. Now next target for Angle would be Enrico in the Ferrari, also on the soft compound tyre, and we could perhaps see a move like we saw in against the Force India just before the chicane, making full use of that DRS and better tyre for the exit. And Eagle gets another penalty, which is not exactly what we want to see, as once again Chicken's very close but not close enough to CC Brain to try a move into turn 1. 10 laps remaining in this race. Very, very close to Enrico. Could he try a move into the inside of turn 1? He thinks about it, but he was not quite close enough. However, at the exit of turn 2, the better tyre might give him an advantage, but he backs out of it as he's trying and trying, as Enrico gets a penalty for that little excursion off track. And now into the inside, there's a bit of a contact, but the Red Bull driver had the right there to be on the inside, so that's a bit of a annoying situation going on. Right. Are we still alive? Yes, we are. We're having some technical issues here, as my internet's playing up, and I'm not exactly approving it, but that for what seems to be somehow fixed itself, as Eagle gonna try and move into turn 2, perhaps turn 3, depending on the exit, but Jacob keeps it secure for now, as honestly with all these penalties I forgot who doesn't have a penalty at this point in the race, but what's certain is that Chicken was looking very interested in a move into the chicane, but sadly not close enough to make it stick. As he goes into turn 1, Fearless, CC Brain keeps it around the outside and that turns into the inside of turn 2 and keeps the position, but that was finally just full out racing, not holding back at this point, and you can see now that Chicken really wants that lead. Doesn't care about the time penalties from CC Brain, he just wants to lead the race on merit, and fair play to that, and fair play to CC Brain by holding it around the outside. Great job there by the Toro Rosso driver as they go around again, and surely we'll see another attempt at the chicane, perhaps, depending on how close he is, because honestly he seems very, very close to the back of that Toro Rosso, and that could mean potentially to outdrag him into the last chicane. CC Brain defending the inside, very close, and now around the outside. Obviously very hard to pull off a move like that there, but it was not an ideal exit from CC Brain, which could make an opening for Chicken, however too far behind, as Jacob gets a 3-second penalty as well, and this fight up ahead is looking very, very tasty, as Eagle still struggling behind Jacob in the Force India, and I'm tempted to just take a sneak peek of what's happening as they're in the back straight now, but it doesn't seem to be close enough for a chicane, a move into the chicane, but maybe into turn 1 depending on how good the exit is for the Toro Rosso driver, but it doesn't seem to be close enough to make it happen this lap. Perhaps next one, as Eagle has Enrico not too far ahead in front of Jacob, as the Force India has a bit of a squirmy exit out of turn 2, as Marin picks up a penalty as well. Meanwhile, back into the leaders, back into the back straight, tries to sell a dummy into the chicane, doesn't quite pay off. However, into turn 1, could he make a move? No, he's too far behind to attempt another one like we saw a few laps ago, but he's surely testing. He's feeling very racy at this point of the race, as we have 6 laps remaining until the end of the race, and we'll see if CC Brain can hold it on track. Obviously we know he can hold it post race because of all the penalties picked up throughout the race, as Angle Killer in the other Red Bull gets the fastest lap, and CC Brain gets yet another penalty for corner cutting, which is sadly not helping in this case, but is not endangered by third place Angle Killer, because he's over a minute behind the top 2 at the moment. Meanwhile, Eagle still very close as he hits the Force India, perhaps because of the ghost car of the random, and loses a bit of an end plate, and that could force him another pit stop, which wouldn't be ideal, as it would probably put him behind the Sauber of Marin, who's currently running 7th with the soft compound tyre, and that's going to be hurting the Toro Rosso driver quite a fair bit, as Chicken continues his procession behind CC Brain in the Toro Rosso. and honestly there's not much else to be seen in terms of fights. Obviously Eagle trying to get closer and closer to Jacob, however with that damage from wing it will be very hard to keep the consistency and to go for the moves. He could be planning into the last lap of the race. However, Enrico makes a big mistake into turn 1 and 2, and that puts him just within striking range of Jacob, and this could be quite a big turnaround on these last 5 laps of the race, as Chicken seems to be allowing CC Brain to create a bit of a gap for now, perhaps due to tyre wear or maybe just for how uncomfortable it is to drive in dirty air. However, keeping himself close enough just to remind CC Brain that he is in the lead there, and he'll take any opportunity to take that lead away from the German. However, into the back straight goes the trio, and you'd expect Eagle to be with an advantage due to the tyre compound. However, sadly that front wing is probably hurting more than what the tyres are helping, but he's still sticking with the soft duo, as Marion behind in a very lonely 7th and even lonelier 8th place with Fretty in the Haas, but he's keeping it together, making as less mistakes as he possibly can to retain their 8th place towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, into the lead, Chicken is going for a move up the inside into the chicane, and CC Brain has no other option than to yield to the Red Bull driver, and that's the lead changing for the first time in over 20 laps, I'm pretty sure. And that's the Red Bull finally driving once again, as Jacob picks up another penalty, with Eagle falling behind a bit further, while Jacob is still on the hunt for that 4th place of the Ferrari. However, more importantly, CC Brain, I mean, it was a fair run, it was a lot of laps leading, but Chicken knew how to take the advantages and finally took the opportunity when he saw it. But CC Brain doesn't seem too happy about it, and he's probably going to counter attack in these 3 laps of the race if he can. Chicken goes a bit deep into the hairpin, and that could prove crucial for a possible move attempt from CC Brain into the chicane or into the turn 1. However, we've seen before that the Toro Rosso doesn't seem to have as much speed as the Red Bull does in the back straight and into the start finish straight, even with the DRS open, which could be deciding towards who crosses the line first in this race, with only 2 laps to go. Meanwhile, at the back, Jacob is still on the hunt for that 4th place, ever so close but not close enough. Into the hairpin they go, very close into the back of that Ferrari, and he could perhaps try to take the most advantage of the slipstream DRS, but he doesn't seem to be close enough yet again to make a move on the Ferrari driver, as he picks up another penalty for corner cutting. That was a clear one, but he is close to Enrico into turn 1, but not close enough, as Enrico makes another mistake into turn 1, going too deep into turn 1, and he picks up a penalty for it, which is curious enough, but is still trying to hold on into 4th place, just a bit of the wall, and retains the 4th place. Brave move there into turn 4, turn 3 and turn 4, and that really helped Eagle to close up again into this duo on the softs, which, fair play, have been driving quite well to not allow Eagle on the faster compound tyre to just go by and pull away. But into the 2nd sector, and CC Brain is still pretty much in the back seat of that Red Bull, but too risky to try and move here, perhaps into the hairpin, as he takes it too much of a good exit actually, as he bumps into the rear. And CC Brain got disqualified from the session from getting too many penalties, and that is very disappointing for the Toro Rosso driver, and that is both critical in terms of the championship but in terms of the race as well, because despite how many penalties he had, it was still enough to finish second. And now it seems like it's going to be a 1-2 for the Red Bulls as the Chicken starts the final lap of this Canadian Grand Prix, round 6 of season 6 of SRL. And meanwhile, into what is now third place. Now would be a good time to know what the penalties are, because anyone in this trio can take the last podium place available. And honestly, it seems like Enrico on track will be able to take it. However, depending on the penalties, it could even be Eagle. We never know. But however, Jacob is very, very close to the back of that Ferrari. The Ferrari defends the inside. Now he thinks about it, but he backs out of it, and it doesn't seem to be close enough to try and pull a move into turn 3 and 4. So that could be the deciding factor as Chicken goes through the last corner to take the win at this very hectic Canadian Grand Prix after a race-long fight with CC Brain, who got disqualified with 2 laps to go. Fantastic win for Chicken, and surely very well deserved for the German in the Red Bull. But going back into third place as Jacob is now at the hairpin right behind Enrico, and he's going to try and get as good of an exit as he can, but that's definitely not the definition of a good exit, and that can compromise him and compromise any plans of a move into the last chicane as Angle Killer crosses the line in second place, very deep into the chicane, but managed to stick it actually, and gets very, very close into the Ferrari as he runs out of fuel as he crosses the line. And is Eagle, who actually takes third place due to penalties. Enrico, however, keeps his place from Jacob, as Marin will be the last one crossing the line at the end of this Canadian Grand Prix. 35 laps, which were very interesting to see the battle for the lead, and obviously the recovery drive from Angle and Eagle, who managed to both get on the podium despite pitting one more time than the rest of the field. But it's a 1-2 for Red Bull, and a Toro Rosso completing the podium. However, not the Toro Rosso you'd expect after the surprising disqualification of CC Brain with only 2 laps to go. Surely a very frustrating Toro Rosso driver at the end of this race, but nevertheless it's a very Red Bullish podium. But here are your final results, and actually everyone had penalties except Fretty, and obviously Nico Hulkenberg, who did an amazing performance to finish 8th place. But it's Chicken who takes the lead, who wins the race even and extends his championship lead. Angle Killer in 2nd place ahead of Eagle. Enrico takes 4th place ahead of Jacob. Marin and Fretty is the last finishing driver of this race. And that is pretty much it from me at this Canadian Grand Prix. It was a pleasure to commentate for you guys. It was a very interesting race, and obviously don't forget to follow SRL on Twitter to be up to date with all the live streams and leaks occurring as for now for season 6. And from me, it's all for now, and we'll see you next week for round 7. Take care.